Welcome back. We just talked about how to grow your wealth and what you should invest in. Now we want to focus on how to protect your assets. I'd like to welcome Gary Quackenbush, a financial solutions attorney, to the show. Welcome. What an honor, Gary, to have you on my show.
I think the honor is mine, and I appreciate you inviting me to be here, so appreciate being here.
Tell the viewers what you do and explain the title that you have.
Okay, so I chose the title Financial Solutions Attorney because everything I do has to do with finances, and so that takes me in the realm of everything from doing people's wills and trusts all the way to maybe the other side of things where corporations, partnerships, limited liability companies. So kind of this wealth protection thing, because so many people don't do anything at all. They're like, oh, I'm a contractor now, and I think I'm a sole proprietor, and do you have a bookkeeper? You know, that type of stuff. Because you know how that goes. It's like there's so many little things.
It's so confusing. That's what's so great is that you are an attorney. You do know the laws. You know how to protect companies. And you were saying, like, how to put your property. Should it be in your LLC or your corporation? Should it, be kept as personal property? It gets complicated.
It does, and that's why I thought, well, we could talk about that on the air. So it's one of these things where it's kind of complicated to talk about. We could really confuse everybody.
Well, you start talking. If it gets too complicated, I'll have you break it down, simplify. How's that?
Okay.
All right.
So the way I always think of things very simply is everything that has a box, right? So we have our personal box, and we might have business. And so when you run a business, which means you're not a W-2 wage earner, as you know, you have a business, means you have your own company. You might be a carpenter, you might be an advertising manager, you might be doing commercials, media producer, whatever. But when you're running a business, you have to have a form. And so if you do nothing, you're automatically a sole proprietor, which is just like Taylor the sole proprietor. So that means it is your business, it's your liability, you're the one that's responsible. If there's any problems, it's your deal. If things fall apart, it's your problem. If things go wonderful, it's your problem.
And that's okay for small businesses.
Exactly.
Because you have a low risk type of business.
Exactly. And so that's the other thing, good point, is you also carry all the risk. So you could take your business, instead of having it in the box with you personally, with your home and your car and all your personal stuff, you can move it into a different box, which could be like a corporation or a limited liability company. So the reason we would do that is now we have the company that's running in its own little box.
Yeah.
And so it can have the owner, which could be you or me or us, and the owner is the stockholder. And then you have the corporation has its own liability, its own exposure, its own risk, its own insurance. So if something happens in the company, gets sued or it comes apart, or gosh, how many businesses fail? Well, if the corporation fails, my house is okay, my car is okay, my retirement is okay. The business it's that little box had its problem, and now we move on to a different box.
And they don't go after your personal assets.
Exactly.
Which is really nice. You want to protect yourself. But what about like your home? Should you put that in a trust to protect, like if something were to happen to you, you want it to go to your kids, you don't want the government to tax the heck out of it and whatever. You don't want it to be caught up in probate or whatever.
That's true. You know so much about this stuff, so I feel like, okay.
I know.
I'm not going to explain it to you.
A little about a lot of things.
Okay, so that's another side of asset protection is when we're here, like I'm here with my kids and I can give them a certain amount of money, I can help them get through college, I could do whatever, but when I'm dead, I can't control my money anymore. I mean, that seems pretty obvious.
Isn't that horrible?
I know,
it should be like, your family should be able to control your money, right? You leave a will, and the person who is you have an executrix or an executor,
right?
They should be in charge of where your money goes, what happens to it.
And if people do that, they have a will with an executor, executrix, like you said, if they have that, then they are controlling their money after death. People just don't do it, and it drives me crazy, because part of the thing I do is I do a lot of estate planning, and I do the trusts, the wills like you're talking about, and then living trusts. So like a living trust would be, the difference between the two, like the will, if I have a will and I die, my will actually comes into play and enforce the minute I die. So then it will say, give money to the kids or hold money here, do that type of thing. If I have a living trust, it actually is in place now. Like I have my own living trust. In fact, this little box is my living trust.
Okay.
So in my own living trust, I have my home and my car in retirement. And so when I die, my trust then is now controlled by a new trustee, because original trustee would be dead. and it says you can give money to
I
kids.
just love how detached you are when you calling yourself dead. When I'm dead, I'm gonna die.
Well, because
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Well, I had somebody the other day say, well, so when I pass, and I was trying in the contents, I'm going,
Pass
pass? Yeah, I know, pass whatever. So I always say, okay, we're going to use dead and die. So, okay, so when I die, and I'm sorry, you're going to die eventually. Well, maybe not, because you're that company, don't you have one that's going to give you eternal life?
I'm working on that.
Okay, good.
I'm working on that
Good.
fountain of youth.
Good, okay.
Yeah, you want in on that?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll put it in a corporation.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be like Fountain of Youth Inc. or
Okay.
something. Okay, we can do that. So with a living trust, my trust now controls my assets.
Yeah.
So then when I die, of course, my wife can still manage the trust, but when she dies, so now we have the money,
Okay.
and that could have life insurance in it, it could have my assets, and that's going to go out to my kids, but it doesn't just go plunk, here's your money. Because
Right.
my 4 kids are 30, 27, 23, and 18. So I don't want them to just like have all the money, because the 18-year-old might have trouble with it, the 30 might do okay. But I have it so that it stays.
You gotta still parent well after you're dead. I mean, if you give an irresponsible young adult all the money, well, it's gonna be gone in 2 years.
It's
or a
true.
year. You want them to invest that money and be able to live off it at some
It's
point.
true.
and
I mean,
invest it.
don't you? Because you probably know people that say, "Oh, but I can trust my kids, and when I die, that's okay. They can just have my money." I mean, you tell me what happens when a 21-year-old inherits a $500,000 life insurance policy.
They party a lot.
Yeah.
They just, it depends on the character, but I would say
Right.
they don't have the maturity or the wisdom to handle that kind of money.
Right, and so kind of the way I think of it is it fair for me as a parent to kind of dump that responsibility on a child? Like, okay, I'm not here anymore, sorry, but here's some money, take care of
And
yourself.
it could ruin them, right? It could
Oh
ruin
yeah.
them.
That is really
Yeah.
the big key, because what I have found over the years I've been doing this is when kids inherit a lot of money, all of a sudden they have more, quote, friends than they used to.
Yeah.
And everybody wants, it's like winning the lottery. Everybody's now is their friend, and everybody wants a loan, and oh, come on, you're my brother or my friend. And it just, I don't know, money's bad for people unless they know how to control it. So that's why with a living trust, you can kind of control distributions to your kids, and hopefully it's going to be at a time when they can control it. And so like mine pays out at 25, 30, 35. It kind of divvies up the money, divides it between the kids. And
Yeah, I did that too, and I told my daughters, and they were mad. No, what are you talking about?
Really?
And I'm like, oh, well, my money,
Yeah,
I earned it.
that's
You'll
the
get
key.
it when I say you do.
That's the key.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back
Okay.
and learn more ways to protect our assets.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right
Right.
back.